What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. I haven't been able to say that in quite a while. I had to make sure I said the right thing. We got Blazer basketball back tonight. A lot of firsts tonight. First game on Root Sports. I know some of you in here probably weren't able to catch the game. Hopefully the organization makes it a little bit easier. The organization of Root Sports, hopefully they make it easier for fans to take in their games. This is the first game for Chauncey Billups. Kevin Calabro is back. Lots of interesting things as we headed into our first preseason game tonight. It was a tight battle through the first half. The second half went the Warriors' way. They win by a final score of, who cares, it's preseason. I don't know what the final score was. Anyway, we're going to give our takeaways from this game and talk about some things that looked good, some things that looked bad, some things that they need to work on. The Blazers do have a week until their next game, so they have some time to work on things. Other than that, we're not breaking out anything new graphics-wise until the first regular season post-game show, so this is just going to be like a normal edition of Blazers Uprise Live.
This is about the right time for it too.
Yeah. We normally go live on Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Right now it's 9:25 on a Monday, so closer to 10. It's like a the Blazers say they start at 7 and then they start at 7:10. It's kind of been like that with our stream times, but anyway, the audio of this will be uploaded on Spotify, so if you want to listen back to any part of this on Spotify, you can do so. If you found us through Spotify, come join us for a YouTube stream. The link should be in the Spotify description. Anyway, that's enough plugging of things. Eric, what are your feelings after this game? What are your thoughts on this whole thing tonight? Just kind of, what's just the general feeling for you?
Well, lots of overreactions. Seeing that everywhere. This take might surprise some people, but I am glad this particular game happened. And this is why. There was a ton of bad film, a ton of put an address on it moments in this game. And I think that will really be beneficial. So we don't have a game for another week. Chauncey can go in and tell all these people through film exactly what they want, or exactly what he wants of them. The sloppiness with the ball, the getting beat to almost every loose ball in this game, just outwork for rebounds on ones where people just didn't box out. Those are the kind of things that if you're going to hold people accountable, this is the perfect film to show examples of what you're talking about. And so I'm glad it happened in the preseason and with this game tonight, because like I said, you have a week to now fix those things and correct them, and now Chauncey knows what to address with certain individuals. I thought there were some positives to take away from it, but I think the main thing is if you're going to be about accountability, there's a lot of things to hold people accountable for this game. So I think you can show how your style is going to be starting tomorrow in the film room.
Yeah, and they'll work on it. This team has a lot of bad defensive habits that it's going to take more than a week to break, and it's like people expected this team to come out and immediately be have a night and day difference. And I think in the end, Chauncey Billups will make a night and day difference, but this team wasn't going to break all their bad habits in one preseason game that didn't matter. Here's the thing. In the first half, outside of maybe the last few minutes of the first half, I thought their defense looked better than last year, and that's the lineups that are actually going to play. And they had a lot of teachable mistakes, fixable mistakes in the first half. I came out of the first half thinking, okay, our defense looks good. We were extremely sloppy in the first half, and we were still right there with the Golden State Warriors because we played good defense. If we had as many turnovers as we did in the first half last year, we would not have been in the game. We would have been down at least 10 with how consistently bad our defense was. Now in the third quarter, it kind of fell apart, which is funny because Dame and CJ didn't play the third quarter and people act like they're the biggest reason for our defensive struggles. So it's interesting how we played better defense with them on the court tonight than we did with them off the court. But here's the thing is this team wasn't going to break all its bad habits, and Golden State they move the ball so well that they're the type of team that'll punish you if you're not completely dialed in defensively. And nobody should have expected this team to be completely dialed in defensively in game one. There's a lot of fixable stuff, and I expect this team to improve on that. It has a whole week to practice. I kind of like having a whole week to practice after this one. And you take the good with the bad. You work on the bad. You know, go into the next preseason game hoping to see some improvement, and you just build it brick by brick, and hopefully you're ready opening night of the season.
Yeah, and to your point about Golden State moving the ball, I think there's two good things about playing them in preseason. One is, like you mentioned, they move the ball, so the rotations get way out of whack when they're not only do they move the ball, but they move it crisply and with a purpose, and they don't really have a lot of wasted time. On the Blazers end, it was a lot of like, I want to be unselfish. I'm just standing here with the ball. Like, someone do something. Like, they're not quite ready to play that way yet. But like when you play against a team like that and you're trying to fix your defense, like I said, you have tons of film now to show you what you did wrong in all these rotations and how to somewhat combat that, and then a week to work on that kind of stuff. And the second good thing about that is this team, the Warriors team, showed, especially in the second half once Curry went to the bench, it doesn't matter what their lineups are. It doesn't matter who's in that's a good passer or not, or if they're an average passer or whatever. They still played the same exact way, and they got good shots almost every time based on that ball movement. It wasn't anything like someone just completely tearing down the defense or wrecking us in a pick and roll situation or anything like that. It was strictly ball movement, spacing on the floor, cutting at the right time, those kind of things. And this game showed if you play that way, it doesn't matter what your personnel is. You can be effective moving the ball with any kind of offense.
Yeah, and I lost what I was going to say. I don't want to focus on the Blazers offense just yet. Obviously, the training camp has been defensive oriented, and that's the focus as we head into this season. The Golden State Warriors tonight punished our secondary rotations. A lot of times, our initial rotations were good. Last year, our initial rotations were not good whatsoever. So I was encouraged by kind of our initial rotations. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like if we had to, if we rotated properly to the first pass, we weren't rotating properly to the second pass or the third pass, and that's where a lot of the breakdowns were happening. And that's the thing, is teams could just beat us through the pick and roll with the way we guarded it last year, and then we weren't even making initial rotations, and teams were able to easily get good shots. Tonight, it was something where Golden State had to work for good shots, and they're an extremely well-coached team, move the ball well. They were able to exploit, our lack of a proper secondary rotation or beyond that. So that's something where it's promising that initial rotations, I think, looked actually okay tonight. Rotations beyond that need to improve, and that's where I'm going to be looking for the improvement from the team as well. I think the other issue tonight defensively is they were just falling asleep off ball, and just the attention to detail off the ball was not there. And part of that could be, it's their first game action. Outside of Damian Lillard, it's their first game action in a while. So you might not be able to get as mentally locked in, especially in a game that doesn't mean anything. So there was possessions where it seemed like the Blazers were dialed in defensively with their starting lineup in the first half, and they had some really good defensive possessions. They were scrambling well. They were rotating properly. Steph didn't do anything in the first half. That was the best we've maybe ever defended Steph. And
Dame was on him, guarding him.
And Dame was, I thought Dame was doing a great job getting through screens. He wasn't dying on screens. I mean, there was a lot of good defensive things in the first half. There were breakdowns that we need to fix, So in the end, the third quarter, the fourth quarter makes things look bad, but we have a lot of guys out there that probably aren't going to be playing a ton. I don't expect McLemore to be playing a ton. He was really rough off the ball defensively in the third quarter. So it's just something where I don't understand everybody who is freaking out about our defensive performance in game one of the preseason under a brand new head coach when there was a lot of good flashes, in my opinion.
And just in terms of off-ball defense, I think that was probably the best stretch I've ever seen Dame play off-ball. He was reading the passes really well, getting in the passing lanes, knocked some passes out of bounds. He had one where he came off his man to double team and knocked the ball away. They ended up not getting the steal, but it knocked the ball into the backcourt. I just thought he was really active and aware off ball, which is a good sign of things to come if he can become kind of a menace like Rocco and Larry Nance should be off ball, kind of getting in those passing lanes and using your intelligence to know where that pass is going to go and beating the guy to the spot and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, 100% agree. So we'll be comparing and contrasting Game 2 of the preseason on October 11th to this game. Lots of time to look at film and work on things. That's the thing, is I expect them to go through every defensive mistake in this game because they have a whole week to. And I expect Chauncey to look at defensive mistakes on film and then take it to the practice court and work through what should have happened. You know what I mean? They got a lot of time to try and correct some things, and I expect it to be cleaned up a little bit in game number 2. What else? Go ahead.
We always talk about this just like from playing, high school or for you low-level college basketball. You watch film, you get called out in practice on the tape. You eventually get to the point where you're thinking about, I don't want to get called out, so I'm not going to make a mistake. And then after a while of thinking that way, it just becomes natural to do the right thing in those situations. Like you mentioned, developing good habits. And so all these players are going to go home tonight thinking, oh man, that one play, Chauncey's going to yell at me tomorrow. Like, I know I messed up, but like that's part of the process of learning how to play defense. And I think that's a positive thing. Like I know it's got to eventually transform into something meaningful, but I think this is a good step in the process of turning those habits into good ones. And it was ugly tonight, but that's why we have a coach that says all these things about accountability and making sure these people are doing the right thing and calling them out if the effort's not there. Every single time someone got beat on the boards or didn't box out and stuff, those are all going to be pointed out by Chauncey. And like some of these players tonight are going to get called out like 10 times in that film because they made several mistakes, So I think I just think this is a great first step, regardless of whether we won or lost tonight. I think we're just going to have, if Chauncey is truly going to coach the way he's preaching, this is the proper way to get it done. Of course, like you want to win every game and stuff like that, but I mean, it doesn't count in the standings yet. So I'd rather it happen now than 2 weeks from now.
Yep. And here's something that was interesting that was tweeted at me. 3 of the final 4 teams remaining in the playoffs last year were winless in the preseason. The Bucks went 0-3, the Clippers went 0-3, the Suns went 0-4. All right. So don't overreact to the preseason, man. You can fairly, which is what we're doing, you can fairly analyze the mistakes, but to anybody that's just thinking, oh, it's just the same as last year, did they not watch the first half? Like, watching the first half, even though they made some mistakes, it wasn't necessarily the same silly mistakes or silly schemes over and over again. Like, the way we looked, the energy in which we played with for the most part of the first half looked completely night and day different than last year, in my opinion. So that's the thing, is you just got to build on that. There was flashes of the type of defense we need to play, and there was more flashes tonight than there was in probably any game last season. And this is game 1, right? I mean, you can sit here and focus on the bad or the final score or how many points the Warriors put on the board, and, it's not pretty, but you just got to take things on a possession-by-possession basis. There's a lot of things they did well. There's a lot of things they struggled with, and they'll absolutely improve the things they struggled with. It's funny because it's like Blazer fans are used to the team not properly fixing or improving on the mistakes they're making in the past. And that was one of my biggest issue with Terry Stotts, is we made the same silly mistakes on defense over and over and over again. So I almost feel like that's why some people are super frustrated with the first game of the preseason, because they're not, used to the Blazers actually fixing mistakes on the defensive end. So I believe Chauncey will get things going, man. This is what preseason games are for. They're to figure out what you need to work on, right? They're not to win. Sure, it'd be nice if the bench unit came back and Kelvin Blevins didn't throw it to the other team on an outlet and then brick all backboard on a three. Like, it'd be cool if, CJ Ellaby put a poster on somebody and led a comeback charge, right? But it's the preseason, and I feel like some people just need to relax a little bit, which is kind of weird coming from us, but I just think people need to relax.
Yeah, because, honestly, we had at least 4, maybe as many as 7 of our turnovers were like live ball, just bad passes that led to a wide open lay-in or dunk on the other end. And you eliminate those, and all of a sudden you had a pretty good defensive effort tonight. So I think, like someone mentioned in chat, it's more about just you can't have a good defense with that amount of turnovers, especially like ones where they're running with the ball the other way and have no one back to stop them. So I think, we've always talked about this too. Like the Milwaukee Bucks last year sacrificed games trying to do things differently, and it ended up paying off for them. Now, it almost didn't pay off, but they clearly tried to play a different way last year, and it cost them games. It cost them getting a number 1 seed, but they were more equipped in the playoffs to handle it. And Tori and I both felt like last year the Blazers should have done the same thing to implement new systems so that they were more equipped to play in the playoffs. So if that's I'd rather see this now in preseason than at any other point in the season. So, yes, it's discouraging that they had so many turnovers. It's discouraging the sloppiness. It's discouraging the seemingly lack of energy and effort at times when the coach is preaching that kind of stuff. But this is why he's getting paid, or why he was brought in to be the coach, is to fix those things. So I'm not worried about that as much as I'm worried about, like you said, now you fix it. You see what's wrong and you fix it. And I don't know. I'm just not too worried about it. It's kind of funny because we have David Ermani in the chat saying, I've only been watching Eric and Tori for a few months. Are we like Mike and Mike with extreme homerism, or do they actually critical on the team? Those that have watched us prior to this offseason know how funny that is. Like, we got every single post-game show last year, win or lose, we got people in here being like, we just beat the Orlando Magic, why aren't you celebrating and happy?
Yeah.
Or we beat the Bulls because Dame hit 2 threes in the last second. You should be ecstatic right now. And we're like, no, dude, we blew a 10-point lead. We shouldn't have even been in that position. It's just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not like that at all. We'll tell you how it is.
Every time the channel gets brought up on Blazers Reddit, there's always somebody there to say, yeah, those guys are too negative, which is funny because now we have people asking if we're too positive. It's just, so I guess if we're hearing it both ways, that means we're right down the middle. I don't know. But I'm not going to overreact to one preseason game, man. I just, if this is how the team looks in game 30, then we have an issue if they don't improve from now until game 30. Like, it's the first preseason game. And that's the thing is, you brought up the Bucks, and that's a great example. And the Bucks went 0-3 in the preseason last year. And, I'm sure some of their fans were panicking and thinking that Giannis was going to demand a trade or something, right? And they end up winning the championship. He might not. I don't know. I don't know what went behind that, but it's just like, dude, it's the preseason. I don't know how many times I have to say that. And here's the thing is Golden State only shot 42% from the field and shot 34.8% from 3. So below average 3-point percentage. They just shot 69 threes. The NBA record in a regular season game is 70 threes. They just shot an insane amount of threes. And when you're shooting 69, if you can hit 35% of them, that's pretty good if you can make 24 threes in a game. So, but it's I don't know. It's not something I'm tripping about. It's whatever. So hopefully they improve on it, and hopefully we see some improvement. That's all I can talk about on the defensive end. And our offense contributed to them running out and jacking up a lot of threes. They were playing in transition a lot because we had we had 26 turnovers,
yeah.
Eric.
I know.
So if anything, I'm not really worried about anything at this point, but if anything, the offense was worse than the defense in this game, which won't last. The offense led to some defensive issues as well. So, we can talk about that if you want after we think these donos.
Yeah, go ahead and think them.
All right. Jay Smith,
That's
$2
Jacob.
dono. Yeah, he says, back to work. Blazer Worldwide. P.S. beat you in fantasy. He beat you in fantasy, Eric?
Yeah, we're both undefeated in the league we're in with Anthony Simons, and unfortunately he gave me my first L this week, but still 3-1.
How's Anthony's team doing?
I don't think he's doing too good.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, I'll check for you.
Shout out Prim. I always butcher your last name, man, so I'm just going to call you Prim. With the $5 dono, he has a sticker which says hype. So I'm glad that people are still hyped up because people were hyped for this preseason game, and you got some people that are being a little too negative right now at this point.
It's fine. People are welcome to be negative. It's just I know people were really excited. New coach, a ton of exciting players and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all right. It's fair to be disappointed in their effort tonight. But at the same time, I don't know. If this was a regular season game, Tori and I would be completely different right now. We'd be pretty mad that we played this poorly. I just don't think you can really take that much from it.
Yeah, we were tied at halftime with our starters playing, and then Steph starts the third, and we sit Dame and CJ. Mm-hmm. So as far as kind of our starting lineups playing against each other goes, we were tied at halftime, first preseason game under a new coach, and we played extremely sloppy on offense and underachieved offensively in the first half, in my opinion. So, if you just look at that, I care more about the first half of this game than I do the second half, considering who was playing. And also, you had Jordan Poole hit 3 30-foot threes, and he took Steph's shooting tonight, so he had 30 points in 22 minutes and also 5 assists. Either he's an all-star and the most improved player in the league this season, or that's just kind of an outlier performance from him. So I don't know. There's some weird things that happened in this game, and I don't know. It's if it was a regular season game, I'd be frustrated right now. I'm not frustrated over a preseason game.
By the way, Ant's now 1-3 in that league, but he's definitely active and trying. And he had some unfortunate luck with he traded for Christian McCaffrey right before that game where he got hurt, and then so he's been out ever since.
Players don't make for good GMs, man.
Well, he made a good trade for McCaffrey, I think. He just got screwed. And then, he had Higgins and Gronk out this week as well. So, tough lineup for him.
Yeah, unfortunate. Hate to see it. Shout out Mills Woj for a $5 dono. He says, Nurk's numbers in that amount of time is fire. Still doing some boneheaded stuff, but his 3 looked nice. Appreciate the dono, Mills Woj. Let's talk about the offense, man. What are your takeaways from a 26 turnover game offensively?
I just felt like they were, with the exception of Dame and CJ and Nas, probably. With the exception of those 3, I felt like everyone else was trying to be too unselfish a little bit and trying to show that they can pass and move the ball and stuff. And I think it just and there's obviously a lot of nerves and stuff, but I just felt like we were standing around waiting for someone to move, and hopefully those get cleaned up where someone actually moves off ball. Because people are ready and willing to pass. It's just there wasn't really much to do. And like I said, when you compare that to the Golden State offense, who moved the ball with purpose and knew exactly where to go with the ball once they got it, and it just in a second or two, it's going from one end to the other end of the court with 3 passes and stuff like that. Whereas our offense is just I want to pass to someone. Oh, here comes someone for a dribble handoff, or here comes someone finally cutting after standing there for 5 seconds. But I thought there were some really cool passes in this game. Just the offense has to be a lot more structured, and I think you saw glimpses of the second unit playing with that structured offense and playing with more ball movement. I think we're going to be in a lot better position with them, at least not blowing leads and not having huge stretches where they're not scoring in when the most of the starters go to the bench. Obviously, CJ will probably still play with the second unit, but I just feel like it's going to open it up much more for that once they figure it all out.
Yeah, I mean, the offense tonight just looked like a team that has a lot of guys returning in the rotation that played on the most stagnant offense in the league last year, but collectively are trying to move the ball more and cut better and have more movement offensively, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing is these guys aren't yet used to running an offense that features a lot of ball movement, a lot of player movement. They're not used to running in transition. Chauncey Billups has kind of preached, trying to make that hit-ahead pass, but I think it was obvious on a couple different possessions tonight that players were not reading when to throw that hit-ahead pass and when to just dribble it up, because they tried to force a couple hit-ahead passes tonight that had no chance of getting through. So it's just a sort of a situation where they need to look for hit-ahead passes more. But until they, kind of work through some of the kinks, they're going to be forcing it instead of just making the right reads.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing as a basketball player. If you're not used to making certain reads, it'll take time for you to kind of learn from your mistakes and learn from what's there to really understand the right play to make in certain situations. And the problem is you have a lot of guys on this roster that aren't used to trying to make like an Anthony Simons. He impressed me with his passing tonight,
Mm-hmm.
but like him and Nas were just used to standing out on the perimeter and watching Dame and CJ dribble, or watching Carmelo post up, and they're just standing there and they're just waiting for a kick out pass or Melo shooting a turnaround jumper, which was more likely than a kick out pass. So it's like now they're in a position where they're supposed to catch the ball and, either make a quick pass or somebody will cut, feed them, or, shoot right away, make a quick decision. Maybe if you're Nas, attack downhill, attack the closeout. And I felt like they just looked a little sped up,
Mm-hmm.
a little sped up, because it wasn't.
Jittery.
It's not going to be an it's not going to be an offense this year where they're just catching the ball and stagnant and just like look to go one-on-one or just casually make a pass to the next guy or just casually walk over and hand the ball off, right? And it just seemed like they were, not processing the game at the level needed to run a motion offense with some good ball movement, with some good player movement. So it's just a team that was stagnant last year trying to play a different style of offense. And I think that's the issue with the 26 turnovers.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I really liked, and I've been saying this for years as well, there was a time where CJ drove, got like two guys to collapse on him, had an easy dump off pass to Nurk for a dunk. Those kind of plays are there for CJ all year. And as Billups points that out, if he does in film more and more, I think CJ is going to become a much better facilitator and realize that he doesn't have to shoot those shots or make it tough on him. He can just do those little dump passes to the big man and get easy baskets that way. And then everyone looks good on offense.
Yep. So do you have any takeaways other than kind of what I just laid out?
No, I mean, you pretty much
the offense.
I feel like the offense, the starters are going to kind of at times revert back to the old style. And that's okay because the old style was fine in the regular season. So as long as they're hitting shots, I think we can survive that way until they get comfortable in the new system. So I'm not too worried about the offense like taking a lot of time to gel because, like I said, just playing the old way is fine for now until you get comfortable. And we saw that several times with Dame and CJ just having to make something out of nothing. But yeah, I really hope with the second unit they don't play that way, and it's mostly new guys, so you feel like the second unit could really take a hold of that much sooner than the starters. And just I hope they learn. There was a couple times where Nurk had the ball and he was just like, like cut, like doing the head motion, and you have to wait for the cutter to go, but then they still got people open just by cutting, even though everyone knew that person was about to cut. So I think they can do stuff like that, and eventually they'll just cut without the hesitation and stuff like that. So I just, it's going to take some time. I know no one wants to hear that, and I'm not making excuses because I'm one who, game one, I'll be critiquing a lot of these things a lot more closely. But right now with 2.5 weeks or 16 days till the regular season starts, it's stuff that can be cleaned up, and it's not something like I feel like, oh, we just are completely outmatched on the floor or anything. We just made a lot of stupid mistakes.
Yeah, and I felt like our spacing was off. I felt like our floor balance a lot of times was off, and Nurkic had 5 turnovers. A couple of those was basically him rolling and then having somebody help hard onto him, like immediately when he's catching the pass, right? So in that situation, you want to have a good floor balance so that nobody's able to just kind of run to Nurkic when you're passing him the ball. Otherwise, instead of passing Nurkic the ball, you're able to kind of swing and find the open guy. The problem is if you have like 3 off-ball players together standing by each other, you can leave 2 defenders there to guard them, and one can just sprint at the roll man in the pick and roll. So it's a situation where I think we have to have better floor balance, and I think that will improve as well, and we'll give a guy like Nurkic a little bit more space, a little bit more room in which to operate. He did have 2 threes tonight, which I thought was promising. He was 2 for 4 from 3. It's at the point where, honestly, every time Nurkic has an open 3 that he can step into, I kind of want him shooting them at this point. We'll see how good of a 3-point shooter he is on volume, but I mean, he had 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists in 23 minutes, 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Like, that's a good stat line. The only problem is he has 5 turnovers.
And eventually they'll have to start honoring it if he's shooting above like 35%. So, and shooting a lot of them, 2 or 3 again. Yeah.
And that'll help space the floor and open up the offense a little bit more. So, let me thank donos, and then we'll dive into some individual players. Shout out Max Dang with a $5 dono. He says, Cody Zeller, thumbs up. Appreciate it, Max. Andre Iguodala obviously didn't mean to break the guy's nose, but the dude just seemed completely careless and reckless coming down from that dunk. Did he not see Zeller? He was looking right at him. Like, I don't understand what... Like, he tried to dunk it and then, like, change his hand placement for some reason, and then I don't know if he...
It's almost like he was trying to draw a foul or something. I don't know,
I don't know what that was, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Iguodala was doing, and his recklessness broke a guy's nose. So Zeller will be fine. He'll probably get fitted for a mask. He's the type of player that I think looks a little bit more badass in a mask. So a mask, he should be the type of player wearing a mask anyway. And if he has a little trouble adjusting to it, he always has Robert Covington for advice on how to play with a mask on. So Covington's still wearing the mask, right?
Yeah, he was wearing it tonight. It's weird.
He just likes playing with the mask on, I guess. I don't know.
Didn't he take it off in the playoffs and then at halftime, came back with it on or something?
Yeah, so I don't think he has any more. I don't think he needs to wear it anymore. He just likes wearing it. It's kind of like the Rip Hamilton thing. Rip Hamilton just liked wearing the mask. So hopefully Cody Zeller likes wearing the mask because he's probably going to be wearing one. Cause I wonder if he's broken his nose. I wonder how many times Cody Zeller's done that, because I feel like this probably wasn't his first time.
Yeah, just another player, I guess, that's going to be a magnet for getting hit in the face, right?
Yeah, and then hopefully Norm's fine. They said right hip discomfort. He's probably fine, knock on wood. I mean, he exited the game. He, slipped or something. So if anybody finds out anything about Norm, feel free to post it in chat. Shout out Connor, $10 dono. He says, thoughts and prayers to Zeller's nose. Yeah. Breaking your nose is not fun. I've done it twice. It's It's not a fun experience. Although I'm not going to go into detail on it.
It happens all
Never
the time in basketball, though. You
Yeah.
play enough, you're going to get all your fingers jammed and your nose broken several
Hmm.
times. Yeah.
Yep. So, uh, yeah, I got called for a foul when a guy broke my nose in college, man. I was trying to chase down a guy from behind on a fast break, and I went to try and chase down, block his shot, and the dude went up with his right hand and like threw his left arm back right at my face and just threw his elbow into my face. And it was a foul on me. So if I wasn't like completely dazed, I would have been pissed. But yeah, that was rough. And that was probably I was having my best game of the year too. We were getting blown out with 5 minutes left, so I was gonna play the last 5 minutes, and this dude breaks my nose. So yeah, that was rough. But and that was the second time that year. I didn't even wear a mask after that. I just said screw it, and never had an issue. But I know it can be dangerous, I guess. So you'll probably see a mask for Cody Zeller. Anyway, you just want to jump into individual players, Eric?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about whoever you want to talk about first. We've already talked a little bit about Nurkic. We can talk about him some more if you want, but
let's just finish up with him.
Okay.
Like obviously he's got to cut down on the turnovers. I thought defensively he was solid. So I saw some things on Twitter about this was happening with all our bigs, like they were coming up too high on the screens, kind of the opposite of last year. But once again, those are the kind of things that if you play a team like the Warriors and you see you're getting killed, guess what? We can make an adjustment at halftime and not come up as high or not do that the whole game. Like those things are allowed, despite what we've known for the last 9 years of watching Blazer basketball. We can make adjustments on little things like that throughout the game. We can throw different coverages throughout a game at someone. We don't have to play the same basic defense 100% of the time. So
I'd rather have Steph Curry play like he did tonight than him dropping 62 points on us like he did last year.
And just not doing anything about it. Yeah.
And just never making an adjustment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the people that liked Stotts and defended Stotts are probably going to nitpick everything that we run defensively and everything that Chauncey does. But that's the thing is if bigs are coming up too high, you can adjust. And the backside defense behind the bigs can get better than it was tonight. So that's the thing is there's a lot of nuances to playing anything other than drop scheme or switching. Like those are the two least nuanced defense. So if you're bringing the big up and they're kind of picking apart, it could be a number of things. Not enough on ball pressure when you're hedging, the backside defense not rotating right, behind the trap or the hedge, and then if they're hitting the roll man and he's making a pass, the defense has to respond properly, and there was times where that didn't happen, and even if we did every time they swung the ball, it was like more likely we would have a defensive breakdown. So there's stuff to work on in regards to that. It's not going to be perfect, and Golden State's the type of team that is able to punish that. So overall, though, I thought it was the best defense we've played on Steph since I can remember.
Yeah, maybe got away a little bit in the second half, but overall.
I mean, in the first half we were defending them great, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, what I was saying is he hit a few threes in the third quarter that kind of broke up in the game, but I mean, he's going to do that. He's like Dame in that sense where he just needs a little bit of space and he can knock it down from pretty deep.
Yeah. So, anything else on Nurkic?
No, I'd just like to see him be a little stronger. There was one time, too, where he had a poor closeout and the guy drove right by him. I forgot who it was. And he reached in and fouled him and stuff like that. So if your evolution is to stay out of foul trouble and to be available more during games, you got to cut out on that kind of stuff. But this goes back to, once again, now on film tomorrow, Nurk's going to get called out for a poor closeout, and then compounding that with reaching in and fouling instead of just letting the guy go. And those are the kind of things that Nurk should hopefully clean up this preseason. And by the end of the season should be more locked in that regard. But I do have to give Nurk credit, man. He looks. Um, I mean, I know he came into to camp really skinny that one year, but other than that, I mean, this is the best I think I've seen him early in a season or preseason that I've seen his body look, and I think at least this year he won't have the excuse of he's still having to get into game shape. I feel like he's already there.
Yep, agreed. Let's talk about. Rocco didn't do much. We don't really need to talk about him unless you have something for him.
No, I mean he's typical Rocco tonight.
Yeah, I think he forced a couple threes, but in preseason I'll let that slide. Norm in 18 minutes, 5 for 10 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, had that and 1 3. On an inbounds pass, he got a layup, and he was the guy that probably impressed me most as a cutter, and I don't know how much of it was design cuts and how much of it was just cuts out of freelance. That's the thing, is we've only had one game to watch the offense, so it's hard to tell what is designed and what is just freelance motion. But as a cutter, he had a couple of opportunities, missed a couple layups that I feel like he could have made, but overall he just looked good, man. He looked good playing off the ball.
Yeah, I loved his cuts tonight. I love when Nurk finds him on those cuts. I feel like he's good both doing that, and you have to respect him as a corner 3-point shooter because he's one of the more efficient 3-point shooter guards in the NBA. So, yeah, there's just so many things you can do with a player like that, and it was good to see us starting to scratch the surface of some of those things.
Yep. And then Damian Lillard, 5 for 7 from 3, 6 for 8 from the field, 18 minutes, he had 19 points. That's the thing. If he plays in the second half, this is probably a game. He had 3 straight threes in a row. It's just fun to see him get hot in the first preseason game, man. It never gets old. It never will, unless he's playing against us. Hopefully that'll never be the case. I mean, he looked good defensively, and I'm not going to make any judgments based off of one game. I just have a feeling that this is going to be his best defensive season of his career. He had a pretty flawless game today, in my opinion.
Yeah, part of me is like, no, wait, save that for the regular season. But it's Dame, he can do that anytime. So, yeah, I mean, if he's locked in at the beginning of the season and goes on a tear right away, and we win more games than we probably should in this tough stretch to open the season, that would be huge for the rest of the season if he can get hot and carry us for a little bit while we learn some of these new systems.
Yep, and then CJ McCollum, 12 points, 2 assists in 12 minutes. He was 5 for 10 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. Broke Avery Bradley's ankles. I wish it was the sideline view for that play. I'm tired of the overhead view. I don't like the overhead view whatsoever. But overall, I mean, people were complaining about him today, and it's just like last year. And I don't know. He ISO'd a couple times. He's going to ISO. He's gonna ISO every now and then. Like, that's the thing. It's just I don't want it to be primarily ISO ball, right? But he's an ISO, like he's a good ISO scorer. I want him to play in a system offense that moves the ball and whatnot, and then pick his spots when to attack off the dribble. Absolutely. I mean, 2 assists in 12 minutes ain't bad. If he played 36 minutes, that's 6 assists tonight. So I don't know. I feel like it's a preseason game. At least CJ's in shape, because last year he came into preseason looking chubby. I don't know if anybody remembers that in preseason game number 1 last year.
But then he's got up to such a hot start.
yeah, and then he started super, super well. So I don't know. What were your thoughts on CJ?
I mean, the awareness thing does bother me sometimes. It's like it's preseason, you're trying to work on a new thing, and then here we are, like, first or second possession into the game, he's going ISO. That kind of awareness does bother me at times. Like, you can do that anytime in a game. Like why not try to actually run the offense and do some things first before you go to that? So I understand why some people got a little upset at him at the beginning, but this is going to be a narrative all season because a large portion of the fan base is upset that he's still on the team, that we didn't move him for whoever you want to move him for. And they're going to point out every time they get frustrated by him. But he is an ISO player. Like I said, mentioned earlier, though, if Chauncey can convince him to use his skills to develop some sort of facilitation for others, like he did with that nice dump off pass to Nurk, I just don't think he can be. I don't think he'll be the scapegoat if he's able to do that, and it's going to take a lot to overcome a lot of those people who are thinking that way. But I mean, as long as he plays under control and doesn't ISO too much, unless he's on fire, I think he'll be fine.
Yep, I agree. People complain about trolls in the chat. I might start doing this more this season, just turning on subscribers only mode. So if you're subscribed, you can comment. The people that are tuning into troll probably won't subscribe. So I'll turn that on right now. If you guys like the trolls, sometimes trolls can be fun. So I don't know how much I'll do it, but that'll be a feature that I've had, but I've never really thought about using before. Anyway, Romancer says smart. Brian Scalabrini says W mode. So yeah, it's the preseason. I don't want to deal with trolling over a preseason game, so I'll turn that on right now. As far as our bench goes, I just want to get into Nasir Little if you're ready for that. Yeah. So offensively, he had a horrible game. 24 minutes, 1 for 9 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, 5 turnovers, 3 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. So, I mean, he was forcing tonight and wasn't really reading when to attack or how to attack. And here's the thing is, I believe the players when they say that he's had a good training camp because he obviously has talent. And I don't think every player is just deciding to cohesively lie about how good he looks, right? It's just a situation where he seemed to be pressing, and first game under a new coaching staff that seemingly believes in him, and he probably wants to go out there and prove them right, that they should believe in him. And I don't know, he didn't look good whatsoever on the offensive end, but a lot of it was kind of the issue that I had last year where it was him trying to create against a mostly set defense, and I felt like as we get more of our offensive playbook into the offense, because they're not running their full offense yet. Some of this, I hope they're not running their full offense yet, Eric. There was a lot of rat ball tonight.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that to remain the case. I expect it to become more structured. And that'll only help a guy like Nasir Little. And I said in his player preview video that I dropped over on the main channel that he's a player that will struggle if you're having him go up against a set defense in isolation, if it's a stagnant offense. And the problem is when he had the ball, things got pretty stagnant, and he tried to create. Now, he missed a couple plays, a couple passes he should have made, which those were the most disheartening thing, because Larry Nance Jr. was wide open underneath the hoop, and Nas just jacks up a 3. And Larry Nance Jr., you could hear him on the TV audio. He was frustrated about it. So, I think it was just Nas pressing, and I think it was him not necessarily getting the best shot selection, but he had some okay shots at times that just didn't fall, so that'll be a part of it. You'll have guys that have 1 for 9 nights every once in a while. So if he does this the next 3 preseason games, then we have to talk about Tony Snell having his rotation spot. But one preseason game, first preseason game of the year, him pressing like that, making some bad passes, some bad turnovers, and missing some shots. It's not what you want to see whatsoever, but it's one game, so hopefully he's able to kind of settle down a bit in preseason game number 2.
And I agree with Daniel Clausen. He says Nas tried too hard. He was obviously trying to impress and earn that spot. And Billups said he might be the first player off the bench. And what do you see tonight? First player off the bench is Nas. So I don't think Billups is the type of coach who will just bring him off the bench first if he doesn't earn that spot in practice and stuff like that. Now, he's got to let that translate to games. But I don't know. I feel like when he gets sped up and when he is nervous, he kind of gets that little hitch back in his shot. And he just like hesitates right at the top of his release. And then it's not as smooth. It reverts back to its college days shooting and stuff like that, where he works so hard to overcome that. But that's part of the problem with when you rework your shot. It's always like your old shot's still kind of in there somewhere. So I think when he gets like really, like when he catches the ball and he's already like 0 for 3 and he has an open shot, it plays in your mind like, oh, should I shoot this again? Or, and he seemed pretty confident letting it fly, but I just feel like his mechanics were a little off tonight, and it was because he was struggling so bad. And then he had a ton of turnovers, just really bad carelessness with the ball. I know he felt like he got fouled on a few of those, but like those are the kind of situations where you can't expect a call. And even if you do get the call, like it's not really a good basketball play because you're driving on two guys, and like you mentioned, there's oftentimes someone wide open out of those. So yeah, it's another thing. Like if you're well coached, you'll learn on those drives to stop like halfway through them and look for the open guy sometimes. And I think Nas can be a good enough passer to do that. But yeah, just a tough, brutal night for him on the offensive end. I thought defensively he did a lot of good things, and I really thought he stood out on that end. But yeah, it's hard to overcome being that bad on offense.
Yeah, let's talk about the other young potential breakout player off the bench, because he had a lot better game in my opinion. Anthony Simons in 20 minutes has 10 points, 6 assists, Eric. Everybody's talking about how he can't play point guard, how he can't pass. He had a couple of dimes tonight. One to CJ McCollum for a layup, one to Cody Zeller on the fast break. That was the one hit-ahead pass that worked. He had 0 turnovers in a game where every Portland Trailblazer was turning over the ball. Anthony Simons has 6 assists and 0 turnovers. He has 10 points, 4 for 9 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, hit a nice spin back mid-range fadeaway. That's one of my favorite moves. I mean, he looked good. He kind of shook Andre Iguodala as well. And I know Iggy's up there in age, but Iguodala's been one of the better perimeter defenders in the league for quite some time. And Simons looked a little shiftier, a little bit more confident with the ball. His handle looked a little bit tighter. If everybody's worried about Nas, just focus on Anthony Simons tonight, because I think Anthony looked great.
Yeah, and I still feel like at times a little more structure would be that, but unlike most people, I have no problem with him being the main ball handler in the second unit if the offense is designed the right way. And he still looks to shoot sometimes, but man, when he gets a little space on his three-point shot, it's money. Like, it's almost automatic right now, and it's only going to get more consistent as he gets older. And if players have to fly out at him, which they will start doing, and he can have those kind of moves like he put on Iguodala and work on his finishing a little better. Yeah, those are the kind of situations where he kind of finger rolled it and kind of put up a soft shot where with his athleticism, if he learns to just take that strong and attack the rim in those situations and draw fouls, yeah, he could be so much more dynamic of a player. But that stuff's going to come in time. But I have 100% confidence in Ant as our backup guard right now.
Yep, I 100% agree. All right, next guy you want to talk about. Who's that?
Nance.
Larry Nance Jr. Yeah, yes. What were your thoughts on Nance's Blazer debut?
Nance is the type of player who he's almost too unselfish. I'd say the same thing about Nurk at times, where he is wide open, but he's like so worried about trying to find another person open or whatever that sometimes it's better to just shoot the ball or attack the basket or whatever. So hopefully he gets a little more comfortable. Players like that, because I'm kind of the same way when I play, and especially when I'm playing with like a new team, I'll like try to facilitate or try too hard to like get like not act like I'm a ball hog or something. So I know you probably don't ever have that experience, but like I'm just messing with you. But
I mean,
like,
you're not wrong.
yeah, but like, so if I'm playing with a team that I don't really know many people on, yeah, I'm like Ben Simmons out there passing up shots and doing all the, like I have a wide open lane and I'm kicking out to like a poor 3-point shooter or something, you know. So I don't necessarily blame him for that. But yeah, like he's the type of player I feel like once coaches and other players tell him to be aggressive, he will. He's just trying to fit in right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is in a completely new system that's probably not fully installed because they've been focusing so heavy on defense. Guys aren't really going to know exactly where their shots are going to come from in that system, in that offense. So that's something that'll have to be figured out. And that's the thing, is Larry Nance Jr. is an unselfish player. So I would like to see him attacking a little bit more, shooting more threes. I dropped a player preview on him right before this game, so after the stream, definitely go check it out. And a lot of the things I said in that player preview apply. Is he's a kind of a glue guy that plays off of guys and can pass and is a roll man, lob target, excels in transition, in my opinion, just as kind of a lane filler or a guy that can push the break. And then can knock down the open three. It's his first game in a completely on a completely new team with a completely new coaching staff. I'm not worried about him shooting one shot. He went 0 for 1 in 18 minutes. He didn't score 0 for 1. Like, I'm not worried about that whatsoever. We know who he is as a player. It's just getting that to fit and getting kind of roles settled and guys figuring out where their shots will come from and where they should be attacking.
Well, here's the deal. He does not play to his best abilities in a sloppy, like unorganized mess of a game. And that's what this game kind of turned into at times. So that's why I feel like if the offense for the second unit has more structure and like he knows exactly where players are going to be, who's supposed to cut on certain situations, who's spotting up in the corners or whatever. I feel like he's going to be so much better. And so I almost feel like, at least initially, it might be better to play him more staggered with the starters or as many of the starters as possible, just to get. He's one of those guys I feel like who plays better with better players around him. So I feel like the way that this game went, it just wasn't a good game to judge his value very much.
Yeah. I agree with that. Let's talk about the other new off-season acquisition. Well, there's multiple, but the other big one, the other rotation guy, which is Cody Zeller. We talked about him breaking his nose. We haven't really talked about his play. I mean, just looked solid, looked serviceable. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to wow you with anything, and we kind of know what he is as well. What do you think of his game?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Didn't really notice him much defensively, like standing out either good or bad.
Which is better than we had last year.
Right. Yeah, I guess there were a couple plays where I was like, oh man, Cantor would have gotten worked on that play. But what I like is he seemed to always be around the basket on offense. And like I said, once players learn that he's there and available and accepting passes, as long as they don't throw it at his feet, like I forgot who that was, but someone threw it like right at his foot and it kind of went between his legs or whatever. He's not going to catch a lot of balls if they're too low. But if they recognize that he's around the basket, that guy could have a field day just cleaning up, getting those little dump off passes. So I liked his activity around the basket. I liked his rebounding. But other than that, not much stood out to me.
Yep. He's gonna be that guy this year where like we get to him after a game and we just don't have much to
Yeah.
say.
Zeller.
Last year that was Canner, and this year it's going to be Zeller. Overall, the team shot well from 3, 42%, 45, a shade below 45% from the field. I want to do the math and calculate what the 9 rotation players shot from the field. Who's the next guy you want to talk about? Everybody else is going to be most likely non-rotation players. Who was the next guy that stood out to you?
Dennis Smith Jr.
I figured. Yeah, he looked good. What are your thoughts on him?
I want this guy to win that spot. I thought it was interesting that I'm assuming maybe the plan is to play Smith this game and Cook next game because they didn't play him or Patterson at all. Or maybe those guys are vets. They already know what they have with those guys. But it got a little sloppy at times. But overall, I mean, I don't think it's too crazy to say we haven't had a guy who just like commands the ball and just I don't know. I felt like he was distributing well early on. He wasn't taking a lot of shots, but then once the defense was expecting him to pass, he got to the rim a few times. I really thought he was like everything you want out of a backup guard. Just someone who can come in and run the offense. He can create buckets for other people. He can create shots for himself. And then on the defensive end, man, I think he might be our best on-ball like guard defender, which isn't really saying much, I guess. But he might be our best on-ball defender, period, on the team. I really liked the way he pressured the ball, and I think he had a couple steals tonight. So yeah, I liked him a lot. He did have some mistakes, some stuff he's going to have to clean up. But in terms of what we're getting out of a 14th roster spot, I just don't see how we could get anything better out of the other 3 guys for that spot than what we're seeing out of Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah, I agree with that. That lob pass he had to Greg Brown was impressive in transition. That was a fun play as well, and he was definitely the guy that was actually, honestly, the only other guy to really impress me. I guess CJ Ellaby impressed me a little bit by his standards, the low standards, the low opinion that I have of him going into the season. But yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. looks good. He can play defense out on the perimeter. He's an athlete. It's just, can he knock down threes and can he make plays for others? And we've seen clips of him in training camp hitting a couple difficult threes and had a few nice passes tonight in his 14 minutes of play. He had 10 points, 3 assists, 3 for 7 from the field. So yeah, he impressed me. He's probably the favorite for the 14th spot right now.
Unlike what I said about CJ, I felt like there were times he could have probably ISO'd and taken a contested shot, but he didn't. And I like seeing that in a game like this, where he tried to make something happen getting into the paint versus just settling for a 3-point shot or trying to shoot over someone or trying to go one-on-one and being all razzle-dazzle. You know, he just gets downhill and gets to the basket or dumps it off. And I really like that. Obviously, like, he did have some moments where he did get into some trouble on some of his drives, but overall, I just like that he kind of ran the offense and did his job.
Yep. So I did the math. If you take out Nasir Little's poor shooting night tonight, the other 8 rotation players, we're talking Rocco, Norm, Nurkic, Lillard, McCollum, Nance, Zeller, and Simons. They shot 54% from the field tonight. So that's promising, right? And then if Nas can shoot a little bit better, I mean, that's an efficient night. The problem is they turned the ball over too much.
Yeah.
But if you just look at the guys who played outside of Nas, who I expect to bounce back, I mean, they ran an efficient offense. They got quality shots, in my opinion. You know, I know we're focusing on players right now, but I just wanted to point that out because I was curious. I was curious because I'm looking at this. You got Rocco only shot 1 for 5. He struggled, but Norm 5 for 10. Nurkic 5 for 8. Dame 6 for 8. CJ 5 for 10. Zeller 3 for 3. Nance is only 0 for 1. Simon's 4 for 9. Right? Like, that's a pretty efficient night. I don't know what the 3-point numbers are. I can add those up. While you give your thoughts on anybody else. I don't know. Nobody else really stood out, but what you got?
I mean, for those saying Blevins, why is Blevins and LB playing? I mean, those guys are going to play in preseason because that's probably shorted garbage time, either in blowouts or getting blown out. Those guys aren't going to see the floor at all. So this is their time to play. Was a little surprised we didn't see Watford at all tonight.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
But other than that, yes. I was a little disappointed in Chris. I felt like he was he got beat on the boards a lot, little inactive. I mean, he had the nice dunk, but that was a ball that got tipped to him. I'd like to see a little more with him. I felt like Dennis Smith Jr. tried to get him a couple of passes when he first checked into the game, but they didn't really connect. They were bad passes or whatever. So hopefully he gets some more. I'd like to see them lob it to him a little more. And then also he's a decent 3-point shooter, so maybe space the floor a little bit next time. But yeah, just like to see a little more from him. Still think he should, if we do sign 2 of the 4, I still would like to see him over Patterson just because he can play center a little more. As we see tonight, Zeller goes down. We don't have a third center in those situations, and that'll probably come up several times this year. So I still think he should be the guy we sign if we do sign 2 of the 3 or 2 of the 4, but do want to see a little more from him.
Yep. So I just did the math, and then Aeromancer was helping me out. I should have just had somebody in chat do the math on that for me. But yeah, so combined with the rotation guys minus Nasir Little shot 54% from the field and 48% from 3 tonight. So that's the thing, is offensively I'm not worried whatsoever. They'll clean up some stuff. They'll put in additional sets, and offensively they're going to be an elite team. So no offensive worries from the team tonight. Got to clean up some of the defensive stuff. I echo your sentiments on Chris. I don't know. He's not the type of guy that I feel like is going to look too good on rap ball. It's just, it's kind of hard to get a feel for him from 4 preseason games. So hopefully he's going to be on the team because I think he's a better player than he showcased tonight. What were your thoughts on Macklemore? I
didn't actually mind Macklemore tonight. He had that nice step back 3 in the corner. I thought he was pretty active in the game. Didn't really mess up a lot. Did he have a turnover?
He had
maybe 1.
2 turnovers.
2 turnovers. I'm blanking on which those were, so I guess that's not good for a guy who hardly handles the ball like him to have 2 turnovers.
When the team has 26 turnovers, it's hard to remember them
right,
all.
I know. There were so many bad pass turnovers that it's hard to. And then that one, was it Nas that got stripped by Avery Bradley in the backcourt and for an open lay-in?
Nas had some rough ones.
But I mean, Macklemore, he's another guy. I feel confident if there's an injury and he has to come in and play, like if Norm goes down for a week or something, and we have to give Macklemore a few minutes. He's a guy who's solid. I don't think he's going to be the reason we win or lose or anything. So I like having him on the end of the bench, but he's not going to. I don't think he's ever going to win a game for us either, though, unless he's super hot shooting and gets a bunch of wide open threes.
Yeah, Justin Barnett says one was the fast break where he overthrew Rocco.
That's right.
That's honestly the best type of turnover to have because it's not like they're going to be able to run off of it. It's just going to go out of bounds. You can set your defense, and if that pass connects, it's a lay-in. So you never want to turn the ball over, but I don't mind that turnover as much as a lot of the other ones tonight.
Yeah, that's one thing too. I hope this improves later on, but I would have liked to see the Blazers get rebounds and go a little quicker. So hopefully that pace picks up as we move along in the preseason.
Yeah, yeah. They had two real bad backcourt turnovers today. One was Nas just dribbling right into Avery Bradley, and then the other one was
The Blevins.
Good old Kelvin Blevins.
He got the rebound and threw it cross court through the middle of the paint. Like
the thing is, it's not like he threw it and then the defender cut him off. It's like he literally just threw it straight to the defender that was just standing there, and even the defender was surprised. Like, okay, I guess I'll lay it up. Oh my goodness, man! And then he comes back down and he shoots a three and doesn't hit rim.
Yeah,
and it was like a relatively open three, bro. And I see that, man, and I'm just like, I don't know if I'd look worse. I don't know if I'd look worse.
All right,
like, dog, I don't know if I'd look worse, man. I mean, I don't think I'd throw it directly to a defensive player that's just standing right there. You know what I mean? Like I'd probably be like, okay, yeah, we're wearing white, not blue. You know, like I don't know. I think I could do that, and then I think I could maybe hit rim on that three he shot.
I think you're
bang, I'm looking better.
How crazy nervous you would be in an NBA game.
I'd be crazy nervous. But if you tell me you just gotta do better than Kelvin Blevins, then I'm chilling. If I'm Dame's cousin, I'm chilling because it's in my blood. You know, I'm Damian Lillard's cousin.
Honestly,
no nerves there.
The only positive thing I'll say about Kelvin is I feel like he's adequate defensively.
Like he better be. He ain't gonna do anything else.
He's not terrible on that end, so maybe they just have him as a practice defender. That's why they like him on the team so much. I don't know.
Yeah,
he'd probably do it for free though if they just asked him to show up.
Shoot, I'd do it. I'd do it for free. I mean, who wouldn't do it for free? That's not already in the league, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's a meme at this point. I like him being on the two-way because he's become a meme at this point and just fun. Because he's never going to play in anything meaningful. If you're losing and he's in the game and does something stupid, the comedy kind of relieves a little bit of the pain. And then if you're up, he's like a victory celebration. Like, ha, we're up 20. We don't care if we pass it directly to you guys because we're beating you guys so bad. So here's the ball. So I don't mind Kelvin Blevins being on the team.
Just so I see this in chat a lot. So Adam Smith says if we could keep Dennis Smith over Blevins, I don't see how we don't do that. So none of the four guys we brought in, Patterson, Dennis Smith Jr., Marquise Chris, or Quinn Cook, are eligible to be on a two-way contract, which Blevins is on. So you have to have less than 4 years of service in the NBA. All those guys have. Dennis Smith has exactly four, so he doesn't qualify. But yeah, of course, we'd rather have better players on our two-way, but those guys do not qualify, so it's either make the roster or not. Blevins is still eligible since even though he's a little older, he's never really played in the NBA prior to last season. So yeah, he can still be on one, and Watford is obviously a rookie, so he's on one as well. But that does not impact whatsoever whether we can sign Dennis Smith Jr. or not.
Yep. Any other players you want to touch upon? I guess the only guy we didn't talk about was Ellaby and Greg Brown. Greg Brown had a nice dunk, but obviously isn't ready for game action. Yeah. So I'm not going to really have anything to say about him.
It's another thing, like when you have Dennis Smith and Greg Brown in the game, you have Chris in the game. Mm-hmm. I want to just run, you know, like just go fast. So yeah, I hope they play faster in those situations if they ever have that opportunity. But yeah, I mean, I also want Greg Brown to cut a lot more instead of just standing out around the 3-point line. So he's one of those guys you can just throw it up anywhere near the rim and he'll go get it. So if he ever does have to play, I hope they have a designed backdoor for him or something, just to get him going. Because I feel like once he had the dunk, he was like fine, but he was kind of lost until that point, you know. So hopefully in the future they'll be a little better on that.
Yep, agreed. And then Ellaby looked more athletic to me today. I don't know why. Do you share that sentiment?
I mean, I've never been as harsh on him as you, I guess. I mean, he's not
But
good,
he's never looked athletic though.
yeah,
And he actually looked decently athletic today. Like he tried to put a poster on somebody, man. So I don't know. He just looked more athletic to me.
he's one of those guys who is not good at anything, but he's not like awful at anything either, you know.
Yeah.
So like in the
Eh.
right situations, he can be fine. But yeah, once again, I hope he doesn't see the floor much this year.
He hit a three though, so that's cool. He hit a three, and I don't know. Like the whole team has to work on their closeouts because he's just jumping at every 3-point pump fake, like he's jumping 5 feet off the ground. Like that's the thing with the team, and I kind of noticed this with him a little bit because I was watching him defensively. But that's the thing with the team, man, is they got to rotate a little bit quicker and they got to do a better job closing out because they're just running past guys. And that's why it's like we can rotate properly, but we're still having trouble, I feel like, this game. So gotta rotate sooner so it's easier to close out on guys. Libby was a guy that was just rotating a little bit late and then just flying past guys.
Well, they obviously mentioned this too in the broadcast, but boxing out is a lot tougher when you're out of position too and not rotating right. So they're going to get into trouble if they're not closing out correctly and then giving up offensive rebounds off those shots, even if they force a miss. So yeah, hopefully they can clean all that stuff up.
Yeah, Golden State had 10 offensive rebounds. It felt like more. Blazers had 6. So yeah. Anyway, that wraps up talking about the players. Anything else you want to touch on from this game tonight?
Snaggy says the Billups interview is up.
Yeah, we can watch the Billups interview. I don't have a. Is it on YouTube? Because if it's on YouTube, I'll play it. I don't currently have a scene set up to like have his face in here, but yeah, if somebody can, I'll look for it on YouTube. If it's not on YouTube, if it was somewhere else,
on YouTube. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, dude. Okay, we're gonna watch a coaching interview where we're not going in like dreading it, man. We're actually interested in what he's going to say.
Chauncey did say before the game that everyone was super engaged during camp, and he was thinking back to when he was a player, and sometimes going into camp, he was like, I don't care about camp, but he felt like everyone really was locked in right from the beginning this year, which is cool.
Yep. Let me set up his face. Let me do that. I will set that up right now. Nope, I didn't want to do that. All right, let's see here. Entertain chat while I set this up, Eric.
Yeah, well, before we get to Billups, I mean, the guy says the right things every time. It's weird. That's why we're not going to dread it at all, because I don't feel like he's going to say a lot of things that are out of place or that make no sense or that are like, you can control that, moron.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. I'm hoping that this is kind of echoing a lot of the stuff we've said tonight.
Yep. So hopefully this is good. Hopefully this looks solid. Let me pull up stream on my phone to just double check. I have not, as I said at the start of the stream, the new graphics, the new post-game show stuff will come first game of the regular season. So I'm just using the template we use for Blazers Uprise Live. Yeah, that looks good. I should probably raise the height on this. Let me just do that real quick. All right, there we go. Chauncey Billups after tonight. Eric, so last season, or when I do this, you just play it yourself and keep it synced up, or what did you do last year?
Yeah, so I just unmute the YouTube stream and then have to listen. So I'm just like a second or two behind
Yeah, I got
real
you.
life. But yeah,
Hmm.
I don't think it was ever too bad last year.
I wish there was a way I could feed it to you, but yeah, no, it worked last year. So, all right, let's listen to Chauncey Billups after tonight's game. 8-minute interview.
It was, like I said before the game, like it was good to kind of get out here and play against somebody that wasn't ourselves. But, I thought we had some good moments in the first half, with the way that we played offensively and defensively. Obviously, the Warriors they're just a difficult team to guard, man. They actually play really fast. And not only that, their ball movement and their player movement make them very, very difficult, extremely difficult. And, I mean, you look at them, you could tell that they're focusing on playing really fast and getting up plenty of threes. I mean, they shoot 69 threes out of 100 shots tonight. That was incredible. That was incredible. So they make it tough on anybody to guard them, but you give them credit, man. They play well.
Is it good for you guys to play a team like that? So now you have a lot to go back and look at in terms of the volume of threes and the ball movement?
Of course. I mean, there's so many teams that play differently in the league. Obviously, everybody emphasizes the three ball, but they're at the top of the list. That team is more than any other team, I think, with their ball movement and player movement. I mean, it makes it really difficult. But, yeah, that's the good thing is we get to go watch the game tonight, and pull the clips and be able to learn from some of the things. We just too many turnovers, really. I mean, a lot of unforced turnovers, just kind of getting the ball, just kind of moving it and throwing it around, being a little bit undisciplined. But it's the first game, man. It's the first game. It's first game jitters. For a lot of the guys, I thought a lot of us just kind of rushed into it tonight, just so antsy, just wanting to be good really quick. So some of these things were to be expected.
Couple.
All right, thoughts so far? We're 2 minutes in. I'll probably pause every couple minutes or so. One thing I just want to say is I feel like you could kind of tell this is his first time through. He doesn't seem like he's fully his confident himself on the podium. You know what I mean? So he's definitely still getting used to this.
Yeah, and I'm not sure yet, but this is the first time I think he's not had to worry about being asked questions other than about just the game that happened, so maybe that's weird for him. Maybe he's expecting something to happen. But yeah, I didn't expect him to, I don't know. I don't think he's going to rage a lot in the press or like out loud, but like I feel like behind the scene he will appropriately do that. So I feel like he's just going to remain like calm like Dame most of the time when we see him. But behind the scenes, he's going to go crazy,
Yep. Trevin says, feels like this interview is just a replay of the stream so far, LOL. I feel like we're going to get that comment a lot this year, Eric. It's completely different this year.
I don't think it's... you guys know me, I don't really like to like brag or anything, but pretty much everything Billups has said since he's been coach is like he watches us and just like takes his talking points from our show. So
he says a lot of the stuff that we've said.
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't watch us or anything, but
right.
I don't know. We got the same basketball minds or something. I don't know. We're probably giving ourselves a little too much credit, but I mean everything he's said has been pretty much what we've been saying. So that's why I said I feel like we're going to get that comment a lot in post-game streams if we listen to Chauncey, because he'll probably just say the same stuff we've been saying.
DJ Vega says Tori and Eric were the original Chauncey Billups. Yeah.
I mean...
He's older than us.
Yeah. We're probably... I don't know, man. I don't know if people are going to really want to watch coaching press conferences this year. Because if he's just saying the same stuff we've been saying, and it's not something where I'm pissed off, I understand why people wanted it after bad losses last season because Stotts would just say some ridiculous stuff and it pissed us off, and that entertained some people. I don't know. These probably won't be as entertaining for you guys as last year.
I do. Part of the intrigue, though, is just seeing how he handles it. Like after a loss tonight. I mean, obviously this game doesn't count, so it's probably not as bad as if we lost a game like this, having 26 turnovers in a regular season game. But yeah, I do kind of want to see his temperament and how he addresses certain questions. Because the media is going to, all of a sudden, some of those people are going to ask much better questions than they have the last few years. And it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. But yeah, I agree. If it begins after like 20 games of every interview seemingly the same because he doesn't really say much, I agree.
Yep. Connor says Angry Tory gets more views than Mellow Tory. I mean, we're on the second channel and pulling good views for preseason games, so I'm not sure that's the case. Maybe I should be even more mellow, man. Maybe I should smoke a bowl before stream. I don't do that. I'm just kidding. But, I mean, I know a lot of people like me raging instead of me being content. Crazy enough. So,
but personally, I love hearing him talk about basketball. So
yeah,
I don't think it's ever going to bother me.
Yeah, Westbrook said we want to see coaching press conferences this year too. Right now, definitely. In the middle of the season, we'll see. We'll see how much you guys want this. Anyway, let's keep going.
Points in the preseason you made is ball movement for you guys and paint touches for Nurkic. How'd you feel you guys did now?
We could be a little better, I think. I thought Nurk got the ball plenty, He got it in the gap a lot of times, lost control of it a few times. But he was able to facilitate for us down there. He was able to get a couple buckets for us down there. And that's kind of what we want out of Nurk, at least for right now, for sure, and then we can start kind of moving him around as he gets a little bit more comfortable. But I was happy with his minutes for the most part. And then the ball movement, I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay, and particularly in the first half. And it's easy to move it when you have a Dame and a CJ because they create so much attention. There's so much attention placed on them. So now you have those gaps and those 4-on-3s on the backside, to be able to actually move the ball and get the ball to the paint. So I thought it was okay.
And got a bunch of chances.
I mean, the last part of that answer I like. As far as the Nurkic thing goes, I thought it was interesting how he said that that's pretty much what they want out of Nurkic, but I don't know. He made it sound like he plans on kind of moving, or what did you say? What was the quote, Eric? I'm blanking on the quote.
I think he just meant like right now while he's getting comfortable learning stuff that to do more of the things he's comfortable with is fine, but eventually they'll start to move him around to different spots on the floor.
Yeah, I was struggling to paraphrase that for whatever reason. I got to knock off the preseason rust as well. I think that's interesting. So, I mean, the utilization of Nurkic tonight is not the full plan for use of Nurkic, is essentially what Chauncey Billups is saying. So, kind of goes along with the theme of this post-game show. Don't overreact too much to one game.
Yeah.
But then as far as the ball movement, that was okay. Outside of the turnovers, I definitely want somebody to ask him about what was really the issue with the turnovers. Why were the turnovers happening? What do you guys really need to improve on to turn over the ball less? I want a turnover-based question right now.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to say that.
We're on the same wavelength, Eric. Shout out Caleb Pendergraph, $2 dono. He says, Melo Stantori will bring in the views. That guy doesn't exist and he'll never exist. Never put those two words in front of my name ever again. Appreciate the $2 dono.
Carmelo and Turi. Oh. That's great.
Oh, man.
That should be your new nickname.
Nope. But I appreciate the dono nonetheless. Caleb Pendergraph.
And yeah, Dion, we're just thanks for the nice comment, but we're just doing on the second channel for preseason because this is like our normal streaming time on this channel. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll have even more viewers once the regular season starts. And considering that Root Sports does not have a post-game show. I think we might be able to catch some people there once the word gets out that we do a show after every game.
Yeah, and if you just found us and don't realize that this is our second channel, this is indeed our second channel. Go subscribe to our main channel, which is just Blazers Uprise without the live. Mod. Can mods post link in chat? I forget. Can they post links in chat? Mod. Some mod. Let's see which mod will step up. If you can post a link in the chat to the main channel in case anybody is just now discovering us. That way they can go and subscribe to our main channel, which is where our post-game shows will be during the regular season. Anyway, let's hear more from Chauncey.
To initiate, what do you think about him as sort of that primary?
Yeah, you know what? I thought I was happy with Ant. I thought he did a really good job. I mean, I think he had 6 assists, 0 turnovers in a game that we all turned it over a ton. He didn't have any. So I was happy with him. You know, he attacked and was aggressive at the proper times, you know, and then he was able to pull back and kind of make plays. So I thought Ant played well.
I feel like Nas was one of those guys that rushed it a little bit.
Yeah, Nas was. He was, you know, I felt bad for him tonight because he's been so good, you know, and I just think he's been working so hard in the offseason, and he finally get an opportunity to play in a game, and he just forced a lot. You know, he wanted it so badly, you know.
Recording in progress.
I understand that, you know. In one of the timeouts, I just told him, just relax, you know, just relax, take a deep breath. You know, everything's gonna be fine, and he'll be okay. He'll be okay.
Should anything be read into your rotation? Nasir came up first, and Simons was about to come in.
No, unless you're just bored or something. ain't nothing to read into that.
Coach, one thing, I mean, it won't show up in the stat sheet, but I thought Nance had some really good screens. Is that something you've been seeing throughout?
Well, you know what? Larry's just a basketball player. You know, he's one of the best in the entire league at that, you know, setting those screens or catching, dribble handoff really, really quickly, roll quickly, catch it, make a secondary, another play. He's really, really good at that. And we have to find a way, and we will, to continue to keep getting to know each other on the floor out there. And he's going to be a huge asset for us in the way that he plays like that.
How'd you feel your guys' conditioning was?
You know what? I thought it was pretty good, but I just think theirs is better, you know, because of the way that they play. We're running up and down, they're sprinting up and down, and it wears on you, you know, and it wears on you, and that's the way that they play. That's what they want to do. So you give them credit. We don't have that type of team, you know. That's not our personnel. But we got to be prepared when we play guys like that, you know. Fast teams, everybody kind of wants to run up and down and shoot a lot of shots nowadays. So we have to be prepared to play teams that play like that and find ways to be effective that way.
That was a really interesting answer. Mm-hmm. Probably the most interesting answer of the press conference. The Warriors were probably in better shape. That's the thing, is you're going to get guys like, even though Nurkic is in shape, he's not in game shape yet. The only way you get in game shape is by playing games. That's the only way you work your cardio to that point. I mean, because that's the thing, is you don't want to come in completely burnt out at the start of the season. So the only way you're going to be in true game shape is if you absolutely killed yourself in the offseason and are burnt out by, you know, the start of the season, essentially. So, you know, it's not something where you expect guys to even come in game shape. But the Warriors looked like they were in a little bit better shape. I thought the more interesting part of that was him saying, we don't have the personnel to run quite like the Warriors do. What were your thoughts on that one?
I think he meant more as to, like, play in that style. But yeah, I mean, I somewhat agree with him. There's a lot of more slower pace traditionally players. Doesn't mean they can't play at a faster pace, especially with the smaller lineup. I feel like we have personnel we can go to at times to match that. But
Yeah.
yeah, overall, I agree with that. That they have a different style typically.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It was interesting hearing him like talk about what the
Say it out
personnel
loud.
was built for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to see us run. I just want to see us. I don't expect us to become the run and gun team that the Golden State Warriors are. I want that to kind of mix it up, and that's the big thing this year is just kind of mixing things up and not being so predictable on either side of the ball. So, if we're able to run more, then cool. It's a situation where we have the players to run. It's just not necessarily going to be the staple of our offense like it is with Golden State.
Yeah, I think I prefer because we're not going to be like shoot it in 6 seconds or less or whatever. Like first one pass up the court, shoot a three type of thing. I mean, we can do that at times, but I just really like players who can grab a rebound and bring the ball up the court and create some chaos that way. So
Larry Nance Jr. I think can do that.
Yep, and I feel like Nurk can do it a little bit. I feel like all the three guards can. I even feel comfortable with Rocco just dribbling it without being pressured up the court.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see more situations where they just grab the ball and go and create some opportunities that way. Just maybe a defender has to pick up, like Dame's guy has to pick up Nance because he's dribbling the ball up the court, and then they like lose Dame on a back cut or for an open three or something, or that leads to someone else being open because two people fly at Dame. That kind of stuff happens all the time to every team if you create chaos. And so I do want to exploit that more, but that's not necessarily playing like at a running pace.
Oh, I was muted.
Are you there?
Let's listen to the rest of his interview. There's only 2 minutes left.
You got an update on Norm?
Yeah, he just had a little discomfort in his hip. He had a little bit of it at the start of the game, but he was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it, and he did, and it didn't go away as quick as he wanted it to. So there's no reason to push it.
What about Cody?
Okay, actually, I want to talk about that for a sec. So apparently Norm had the hip discomfort at the start of the game, so I don't think that's something to really worry about.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll probably miss a couple practices and whatnot, and who knows if he plays in the next preseason game. Definitely just want to get him healthy to play start of the regular season, but it just sounded like it was a precautionary thing. When you hear Norm limped off the court to the locker room in preseason, it's just it's scary. So
especially for us.
As Blazer fans, it's extremely scary. It sounds like it's nothing to worry about. So
yeah, we do have a week till our next game, so I have a feeling most of the players will be fine by then, unless something happens in practice over the next few days.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I think he broke his nose. That was a really unfortunate play. I mean, really unfortunate play, but we'll get some more information on it. But I'm pretty sure he broke his nose, though.
Got time for a couple more. There's one play, I think it was in the third quarter. You got Dame off the ball with Ant playing point guard, and they kept kind of the screen, and Dame got a three. Is that something you want to see more of, Dame off the ball?
Yeah, I would like to see Dame have the.
Well, first off, I just gotta point this out. Dame didn't play in the second half, but Terry Stotts would have definitely corrected that.
Yeah.
Absolutely would have had to make a point that Dame did not play in the third quarter. So I just thought, like, that's what I was thinking when he said that. His thoughts would definitely just make sure to correct that and make a point to correct that. So it's just interesting to contrast and compare these press conferences. Anyway, I do want to hear his answer to this.
See more of Dame off the ball.
Yeah, I would like to see Dame have the opportunity to play off of the ball out there. I think we have the personnel to be able to do it with Ant, with CJ as well, because those guys can play make, and they draw a lot of attention and they're great shooters. So to be able to have Dame on the second side and be able to go to him, he can get handoffs and screen down, pin downs, and yeah, I like to see us doing some of that.
So was that a design play? Is that a play call?
Yeah.
Or was that a read?
Yeah, that was a play call.
It seemed like there was a lot of contested threes in the first half from the main group. Did you feel like the shot selection was okay?
Nice.
Yeah, that's something that we talk about not wanting to do a lot of. Is take contested 3-point shots. I mean, we got some really good shooters. Obviously, our top 2 guys can take and make those shots, but we don't want to live and die with those contested 3-point shots. I feel like we can do a better job of driving and getting into the paint. Now we collapse defenses, and now that kick out is not contested. It's 2-on-1. You got to just make the right decision, and you start to get more quality looks.
Okay, well, there's him saying what we said last year. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like when Dame or CJ has it going, then it's kind of okay for them to do that, but for the most part, you don't want to live and die with them. That's the thing, if CJ or Dame gets hot, you're not dying with those shots, and say they get a couple open looks, easy looks, and they get going, and it gets them in a rhythm, then it's not, those shots aren't an issue. And that's kind of what you saw today, is Dame got hot, hit 3 threes in a row. The last couple were contested, but he had a good rhythm going, and they weren't forced. And that's what we were saying all last year, is we got to try and do a better job of getting Dame and CJ open looks, and they should shoot better. I mean, you look at their spot up percentile in the league, it's top 1-2% in terms of spot up 3-point shooters. So that's the thing, is, and that's why I love to hear from Chauncey, is focusing on creating, attacking gaps, attacking the lane, getting into the paint, and then kicking out and getting better threes that way, instead of just having to rely on good players hitting a bunch of contested shots, which is a direct contrast from how Terry Stotts coached us last season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's the end of the interview.
Oh, okay.
Cool. All right, there's your Chauncey Billups interview. Any other thoughts that you have on that interview, or anything in general?
Some people mentioned this in chat. I just feel like Billups says stuff in a way where he's encouraging towards the player, but also lets them know what they need to work on. But like with Nas, like I feel like I don't know if Stotts would have flat out thrown Nas under the bus after today, but Nas definitely would have been like, well, I gave him a chance and he was 0 for 9 or whatever. What am I supposed to do? Like that kind of attitude. Whereas you could tell it hurt Chauncey that he felt bad that Nas had a bad game, and people understand that. People can pick up on that when you're playing for someone like that cares that much about seeing you succeed. And I think that's going to be great for the development of some of our young guys.
Yep, I agree with that as well.
AZ Nightmare says, can you talk about timetable for Zeller? I mean, unless... Go ahead.
I mean, he'll be ready to go at the start of the regular season, right? He's just got to wear a protective mask, most likely.
I mean, unless it broke in a way that it was dangerous to play even with a mask, which is very uncommon. You got to think as long as he's okay wearing a mask, he'll be fine within a week or so. I don't think it should be more than that,
Yeah, so he should be fine. I mean, maybe he doesn't play. See, honestly, I expect him to be back in the preseason, because if he has to wear a mask, I expect him to want to get used to that before opening night. So he could be back next preseason game with a mask on. Other injuries, normally guys, like Norm, I wouldn't necessarily expect him back on October 11th, our next preseason game. It's that's just something different. That's hip discomfort. That's something that you have to rest. Where a broken nose, you just put on a mask and it's going to heal. So it's just a situation where I think it's different than most preseason injuries. I would expect him, if it's a situation where he has to play in a mask, I would expect him to play next game because he's going to want to get used to that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it sucks, but it's also probably one of the better serious injuries you can have, because as Gray Hughes points out, it does take a while for it to heal, but like you can still play with it. I mean, there is some risk with that, but you're not like. I mean, you can still play, you can still run, you can still shoot. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't. None of your joints are messed up, you know.
I mean, I broke it and was back in practice without a mask,
Yeah.
you know, where I wasn't the smartest decision. I tried wearing a mask the first time I broke it, and it was rough for me.
Not good.
But that's the thing, is they get like fitted masks, you know, that work for them. Mine obviously wasn't fitted, so it was too much in my peripheral, in my vision, and that's why it was rough for me. So he'll get a fitted mask. They have a week to fit a mask for him. They got time, so I expect him back this preseason.
Yeah, me too.
Greg Hughes says 6 weeks for the bones to heal. So, yeah, I mean, maybe he likes the mask. Maybe he's like Rocco. Maybe by the end of the season, everybody on the team is wearing a mask. Maybe that'll just be our thing. I don't know. But 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, just to be safe in terms of how long he'd probably have to wear the mask. Anyway, anything else you want to say on this post-game show, Eric?
I saw some people talk about Jordan Poole in the comments. Shout out to him, man. He's become legit. He started to come on last year, but he looked really good tonight.
Yeah, he fixed the weird hitch that he had in his shot as a rookie. I thought they reached on him at 28, but right now, I mean, the way he shot tonight, man, I mean, he looked absolutely legitimate and fits their style of play. So, yeah he looked phenomenal tonight. That's going to wrap it up for the post-game show. We will be live again Thursday with a normal episode of Blazers Uprise Live. Then next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, our preseason games, and we'll have post-game shows right here on Blazers Uprise Live for those. I've been dropping player previews over on the main channel, so definitely go watch that if you haven't. I've enjoyed making those videos, and I will have more this week. I'm going to try and finish up the series. The last video is going to be on Damian Lillard, since we're going from bottom of the roster to top. I'll try and get that out probably the day of the next preseason game. I got standings predictions coming up too, so that's what's on tap in terms of videos. We just launched merch today, so if you want some merch, go to the website and go buy some merch. We dropped a couple mouse pads. We dropped a zip-up hoodie. Trevin asked for that specifically, so dropped a zip-up hoodie version of the original sweatshirt we had, and dropped phone cases. I don't think they have the newest phones, so if you have a super new phone, then I think you might be out of luck, but there is a lot of options in terms of phone cases if you want one. What else do I got to plug? The website's up and running.
The website is Blazers Uprise Live. I mean, BlazersUprise.com. Sorry.
Yeah, Blazers. Yeah, the website is BlazersUprise.com. If you haven't been with us all off season, we're now launching. We've been launching written content on the website. Lots of good articles. Reese just wrote one detailing Larry Nance Jr.'s defense with some video clips involved. I think is a really good piece. So definitely go make an account on the website, comment on those articles. I want to try and get a comment section going within those articles as kind of a place for you guys to discuss basketball. And then the merch is on that website and everything. We will be uploading the audio of the stream to Spotify. Should be up by some point tomorrow if you want to listen to any part of this back. Maybe you missed part of it and you want to listen on the go. You'll be able to do that this season as well with our streams. And yeah, I think that's a lot of plugs, man. We got more stuff to plug this season. So yeah, anything you want to end off before I hit him with the outro?
No, just you guys have been great in chat tonight. I know Tori kind of fixed some things, making it nicer. But appreciate everyone who tuned in. Had a lot of people in here, and for the most part, it was pretty cordial in chat. So we appreciate all of you, and hope you enjoy the post-game shows throughout the season, since there's not much else out there. And the other option, we prefer if you like us better, but yeah, we just appreciate everyone who tunes in to our show.
Yep. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at ToryJonesYT. Eric. I just muted myself mid-sentence. What am I doing? I was gonna type my @ because I don't. I need to put it in the description of this channel, because the description on this channel is very bare bones. So I'm at ToryJonesYT. Eric is at HoopsJock. The channel is at Blazers Uprise YT. So definitely go follow us on Twitter. I put our handles in chat. And with that, your dog is here to tell you that it's time for you to stop streaming, Eric. So we're going to side off. We hope you have a good rest of your night. We'll catch you again live on Thursday. And then next week, we got more preseason action. And then the week after that, we're talking about games that actually matter. So I can't wait for that. And I know you guys can't either. We will have you covered every step of the way. So until we catch you next, have a good rest of your night. As always.